here I am. You can't do a thing without proper libations, right? So my usual refreshy seltzer waters. I like the grapefruit and the lemon. The lime's pretty good too. Yeah, I always keep one of these on hand now because I really don't like drinking sodas anymore. And this was the way I quit drinking Diet Coke. We're all about self-improvement, right? Right. So today, what I said, oh, and let's not forget coffee, right? I gotta tell you, and oh dear, look, I'm wearing my coffee shirt. Three Peckered Billy Goat by Raven's Brew. Holy cow, man. I mean, holy goat. It is the GOAT coffee, the greatest of all time. Seriously, I mean, a totally unsolicited plug. This stuff will like, oh, it's amazing. They don't roast it too dark. It's like kind of a little bit lighter, so it doesn't look like it was properly roasted. But dude, this stuff is rocket fuel. Anyway, so today I wanted to make note of some things that happen as I'm playing. I've been doing a lot of gigs, like working with Randy Hansen has been really cool because it's given me a chance to play music that I really love and to just stretch. And Randy's whole thing is, man, if you're not playing a drum solo through the whole tune, you know, you're not doing it right. And I'm like, yeah. So I get to play a lot and it's fun. So I talk to a lot of people after the shows, and a lot of times I hear, hey, you know, I really am inspired. I see what, you know, just watching you play made me feel like, you know, I want to kick it off again. Or a lot of times it's like, I just bought a drum set and I just love what you're doing, and, you know, can you give me any pointers? So, you know, a lot of people played drums back in their high school days or whatever, and they go through life and they see somebody play, you know, like myself, and I'm lucky enough and I'm fortunate enough to have inspired that person to, you know, pick up sticks again. And I think that's a really cool thing. And, you know, it's great to, you know, return the favor and all that. And so this is one of my ways of giving back. So starting over, the first thing you want to do is develop a routine. Now, if you're just kind of like getting bit by the drumming bug again, and you haven't played in a lot of years, and you just want to do something, take heart. You don't got to go out and invest a whole ton of money yet. And there's a way to buy drum gear that's really a smarter way than, you know, like just go out and spend a bunch of money on the brand new shiny stuff, because a lot of times brand new shiny stuff is, you know, it's not really, it's not going to be the best bang for the buck. No pun, well, pun intended. Okay. Okay, so anyways, drumsticks. This is our real instrument, you know, is wielding sticks. Because if you can play two sticks on two surfaces and make sound, creating music right there. That's pretty much with two sticks. Okay, so the path to getting good and to developing your chops and getting your strength back basically is just doing it every day. And if you start with like 10 minutes a day, go to pas.org. I'll put links in the description of the video, you know, post-production. I'll fix it in post, man. Yeah, so what you need to do is download the rudiment sheet and start at the top. And because of YouTube, there's all these great examples of how to do them. And there's also a lot of not so great examples, but for the most part, I think anybody demonstrating, you know, a rudiment is going to be pretty much, you know, safe. And there's going to be a lot of different takes on it. So do your research, look at the sticking, and try to just work within that. So, like, you know, work on paradiddles. That's a good way to get your flow going. If you've ever trained martial arts, these are sort of like katas. They're predetermined movements that will give you some flexibility within a situation. So, work on, you know, take like 3 rudiments and work on them every day. Single strokes. Always do single strokes. And always keep your hands up to a normal height. So right here I'm coming up about 75 degrees. So even though I'm only coming up 75, I'm not going all the way to 90, which would be my, you know, top of my stroke right there. If you're doing, you know, 45s like that, which is mezzo forte, medium loud, make sure they're even. So you can kind of look past the end of the sticks and you can see, you know, where that relative height's coming up, and it's coming up to like right there. And you could pick like a horizontal plane off in the distance and focus on that. Like right now I'm using the top shelf of the thing that this video camera's sitting on, aka my phone. I'll have my rig back next week. Okay, so developing a routine, very important. Rudiments. The next thing you want to do is get some inspiration. Start searching out some drummers and what kind of music do you like? Okay, if you like blues, go look at Tony Bronival. He's he's definitely one of the top blues cats on the planet. Tony, and he's also a really good friend of mine. And hi, Tony. Anyhow, I really like his work. Mason Goudry is the guy who will blow your mind. Chris Paprada. Who else? Forrest Rice. Greg Essig. Oh my gosh, Tarek Abuziad. He's a local Seattle guy. I'm going to be subbing for Ollie Klomp, who works with a band called Rippin' Chicken here in Seattle, and they are just absolutely amazing. But I'm doing the West Seattle Soul thing. Anyways, finding inspiration. That's a really important part of it. Okay, now, assembling your resources. Once you find your inspiration and you've developed a little bit of a routine, you're going to need to get something else to hit besides a practice pad, or you're going to want to. Okay, so before we get into the drum part, you know, buying, that's going to be a whole other video, but we'll just kind of like tiptoe over that direction. A good practice pad, I use the Aquarian True Bounce. It's a really awesome pad, and it's also portable. And a good pair of sticks. These are my ProMark 2Bs that I absolutely adore and love. You know why I use 2Bs? Because you can find them anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are. You could be in freaking Antarctica and there's a little music thing over there. Oh, we got some 2Bs, got, you know, 2 pair. Sure. What, you know, anyways, that's the reason, one of the reasons why, and also it's a really nice, comfortable stick for me to play, and they're heavy, and I use the weight to my advantage. So, getting your books, you're going to want to get some routines down. I recommend stuff like Master Studies by Joe Morello. Thanks, Nick Amoroso. I recommend Accents and Rebounds by George Lawrence Stone. Syncopation's also a really great book to get into. For drum set development, I like A Funky Primer, because it's got some really easy sort of beats to get into, and if you're just getting started on learning drumming music and how to play. A friend of mine named Owen Liversidge in Atlanta, Georgia, has written some really, really great drum books. They're basically starting from the ground up, and they're a nice little method. Owen Liversidge. I'll put a link to his site there. Phil Maturano, if you're into the Latin thing. There's so much stuff out there that's available now, and little quick YouTube clips just like this one that are kind of directing you to those places. You know, how do we share that information? So, assembling your resources. All right. There's also, if you are getting bored with pads and stuff like that, and you've got a drum kit, you've already got that set up, you can go look on YouTube for free drumless tracks. A guy named Andre Forbes, he's a composer, and he puts up these tracks that are like tunes that are pretty freaking amazing, and they're a lot of fun to play. So there's sort of this little subgroup around those sorts of things where people are, you know, playing along to those and posting the videos, and everybody's like, hey, check me out, check my, you know, everybody's different take on the same thing, you know, so it's kind of cool. It's a good sharing opportunity to get into, to start putting yourself out there like that. And another thing is just to get active, man. Getting active, going out and walking. Like last year, actually a year, pretty much a year to the day, a year to yesterday, I got tired. When I moved to Seattle, I kind of went on the Ben and Jerry's diet because the first winter was sort of hideous and it was really dark. And well, you know, Ben and Jerry's diet was great because I felt great after I ate all that ice cream and went to sleep and woke up and didn't do anything all day. But I also, you know, kind of started getting really sluggish, and it became, you know, more difficult for me to, you know, do the things that I like to do. So I had to sort of, you know, make that choice. What am I going to do? And I began walking, and, you know, got time on my hands, you know, in the mornings. And so I just started filling my days with a walk, and I started walking like, I don't know, 5 miles a day, and I moved that up to like 7 miles a day. And now my step counts, I try to get 15,000 in a day, and at least I'm thinking about moving up to 20,000, because that's about 10 miles of walking. Though that's a lot of commitment, but you know, I'm not training for a marathon. Anyway, getting active in real life is going to help you. You just want to kind of achieve, you know, and body, mind, spirit, right? It all kind of feeds itself, you know, when everything's sort of balanced, it works out. So, those are some elements right there that I do believe that can help everybody who's just getting started out playing. There's a lot of things online, you know, regarding how to play basic drum beats, and you know, I'm not going to bore you with any of that, but I also said there'd be some mental concepts. So let's talk about this. Whenever I go and play with a band for the first time and I don't know any of the music, the best thing I can do is keep my eyes open. I hear with my eyes. I am looking at the singer, I'm looking at the bass player, a lot of times I'll sit there and watch, you know, the bass player getting into the groove right there. You know, they'll be sort of like tapping, you know, getting their groove, and I'll lock in with that. And so when they start doing that and I'm doing this, and then 1, 2, 3. So on and so forth. And it's really cool when you do that, because as soon as you're like locked in like that, and that initial first, you know, 4 bars of music that gets played is feeling really great, and nobody's, you know, wigging out because like, oh my God, is it gonna suck or is it gonna be good? It's just like in that moment, it's like everything feels like, yeah, it's all good, it's gonna be fine. So anyways, Mark Houghton, I want to answer some questions here. Mark Houghton, left hand traditional grip. You want to get faster with your traditional grip. So this is going to be something straight out of the Alex Duthert book of traditional grip. He was a Scottish pipe band, as a matter of fact, the father of Scottish pipe band drumming. See this form I'm invoking here? A straight line like this. My thumb, there's a cradle here. Okay, just a little bit turn over, and then right here the thumb is coming down onto the stick. Now, right here, just this motion, starting with the thumb, this is going to help you get more dexterous with that left hand. And then it's just a matter of just dribbling with your thumb, and then at some point, you know, you're going to learn to make the adjustment to get it back to, you know, where it doesn't slip. Because when we play, that's really what it's about, is that we're not only we playing, we're also, you know, adjusting, making little, you know, things, you know, pulling like this to choke up on the stick. You know, that's part of stick control, is making sure the stick doesn't slide out of your hand, because right here, if you keep doing this, it's like it goes farther and farther out, you see? And so you have to kind of give a little pull in like that with your fingers to sort of, you know, choke back up on it. So that's the thing. That's what we try to do, and you just kind of get better at it and figure it out, and it just becomes natural at some point. I'm still waiting for that to happen, but okay. So Don Dennison asks about shuffles. All right, so there's a million. I shared a video playlist of the shuffles that I've kind of come up with, and I didn't really delineate between Chicago and Texas shuffles and all that, but here's kind of my thought on the whole process behind it. Chicago shuffles. Think about the climate Chicago is. It's a windy city. You're gonna freeze your butt off upstate, right? I mean, that's really cold and windy. It's right on the lake, and so yeah, their shuffles and their tempos up there tend to be. Let me see. I'm gonna play a little slower. 1, 2, 3. It seems like it's a little more edgy. It's more on on the edge of things, right? That's the way I perceive a Chicago shuffle, is something a little more jumpy because the temperature, they're freezing their butt off, so it's kind of more tight. Now Texas is the other thing: it's barbecue and bacon grease and heat. God, I know that it's hot down there right now, so I feel for all y'all. So like a. Something a little greasier on the backside is the way I always played Texas shuffles when people would ask me for a Texas shuffle. Of course, there's the double shuffle. And then there's those guys who want that real straight, like, man, I want a double shuffle. Which really, if you think about shuffles, all it is you're just like taking eighth notes and then you're just kind of swinging them. And then there's that varying degree in the middle. Perspective at that point. The way I see it, it's kind of like you're standing behind a pole and you step to the side, at either side of the pole, and you can see the same thing, right? But you're kind of seeing a different edge of it. That's perspective, the way I hear time. You can adjust the perspective like a drop shadow. If you ever play around with a graphics program, you could put a drop shadow or something, or if you ever shift the light on something, it changes the shadowing. It's still the same object, but you're just shading things a little differently. Damn, how did I go without this coffee for so long? Oh my God. Okay, so Kelly Jacoy was asking about slow and spacious grooves. Yes, the way I see slow and spacious grooves is this. When we're playing time, okay, so here's a mental concept for you. When we're playing, what we as drummers do is we are like people who draw lines in coloring books. Isn't that funny, huh? It's kind of like what we do. So people say, what do you do? I'm like, I'm in packing and shipping. Well, what do you pack and ship? Well, I make these little cosmic rhythmic containers for melodic content to be, poured within, and together it sort of makes like a nice little coloring book, right? So it's kind of like that, in a way, and playing slow and spacious. Once again, first time ever to walk on a stage with a band that. after coming back from a little, hiatus. That's another thing, is you guys who, get good at, practicing and playing and all that, start hitting the jam sessions. The blues music is the hot dog of the music world. It's like everything. You can find all the country players, all the jazz players, all the rock, some rock players go in and they sit in and they play blues, because really rock and roll is just harder edge blues, right? So anyways, yeah, hit blues jams, go in and sit in and go jam out. Here in Seattle, we have a thing called Mojam Mondays. Shout out to Davey Nefos and Karen Zam and Morgan Gilkison and all of those cats up there at Nectar Lounge over in Fremont. Monday nights, it's tonight actually, yeah. You just walk in and they assemble a band right on the spot. You get up there and you play. You don't know what you're going to play, but you play. How's that? And it's kind of like seat of the pants and a lot of fun, and they always record it. So, yeah, there's that. So slow and spacious. Playing grooves, slow and spacious. Getting on stage and playing something with nice dark edges. So, in a hurry at all, right? And just play less. Not necessarily play less, because I think less is less. I'm just taking all that energy I'm playing, and I'm playing it in a smaller space. And this right here is going to move on to Selena's question about dragging and rushing. A lot of times when we get quieter, the inclination is to either drag it or rush it. So which are you? I tend to be one who will end up dragging everything, but I'm aware of it. And so I make a conscious effort to not drag it, right? The only way you can really do that is just to sit down with a metronome and work on it, because, even when you go big, so when you go big, you shouldn't rush it either, right? One of the hardest things I had to do was learn how to play quiet. Because I'd be playing these restaurant gigs and you start playing too loud and the chef will come out and scream at you, and then you don't get fed anymore and it sucks. So I had to learn how to play quiet, and people say, how'd you learn to play so quiet? I said, I was trained by the finest people in the world. They say, wow, who, like Roy Burns or Jim Chapin? I'm like, no, like by, freaking Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay, is he a drummer? But no, but he yells real loud at you. See, I can do that for myself. Play my own rim shots. So anyways, I'm sure I've, gone all over the metronomic spectrum right here. Within here, so whoever's sitting there with a metronome going, yep, it's rushing right there, he's dragging, yeah, it's okay, because it doesn't matter, nobody got hurt, right? If they did get hurt, find another band. True that. So, anyways, Chris Bolillo, this will have to be the last one, because I got to go teach a drum lesson over at Seattle Drum School, yay! So, quiet and burning. How do you play quiet and play, like, really? Yay! Squirrels poster! Damn, that was like almost on cue. Rob Morgan. Go look up the Not So Bright Side of the Moon. This is my band that I play with in Seattle, the Squirrels. They redid the entire Dark Side of the Moon album, and it's freaking brilliant. They fixed it. Anyways, that was bizarre, man. Playing quiet. Let me just speak one more thing to that. Okay, so I believe that the number one word in drumming, if there were one word that could sum you up as a player, I think that word would be congruence. And the reason why it's that word is because congruence sort of denotes like everything being in harmony and in tune with itself. Okay, so if you're playing a really small room, you know, it doesn't really matter how heavy your cymbals are or how low your drums are tuned. You know, you just basically you play with what you got to what you have to play to, right? So you fill that space, and what that requires is just the ability to do things like, you know, you're watching people, and if they start wincing, like they're, you know, plugging their ears, that's a good sign, you know, that maybe it's like peaking a little too hot on the dB meter. So that's always, you know, something. But if people look like they're having a good time, and, you know, people are going to talk through your set because that's what they do, unless you're playing a huge concert hall. But if you're, you know, wherever you are, you know, fit the bill, you know, play in congruence with what's there. Sometimes the music requires a lot of movement and a lot of energy to be shoved around, and sometimes the music needs to, you know, have like some, you know, just real solid guideposts, and that's what we do as drummers is, you know, like I said, we draw lines in the coloring book, but what we do is we offer structure. Rhythm is structure, melody is color. So, like I said, we are the ones that draw the lines in coloring books. And I'll be putting a few other analogies out like that that are kind of along the same train of creative thought. And I think that's what we need more of in this world is damn creative thought. George Carlin had it right when he said that if you have 6 hours in a day for a kid to do something, let them spend 3 hours daydreaming. Because daydreaming, while it might seem non-productive, it's very essential to you know, creating and forming thoughts and discovery. When I was a kid, I used to read everything my granddad brought into the house. He was a book salesman for Time Life, so all those old book sets, you know, of the gunfighters and World War II and, you know, the history of the United States and stuff. You know, it was beyond encyclopedic. It was just this crazy, just array of all sorts of cool stuff. And so I learned a lot from those days, and I think that was one of the greatest gifts that anybody could have is the ability to read. So, you know, just do a little bit every day. Get active, play drums, try to eat as best you can, body, mind, spirit. But, you know, yeah,